I'm sitting here thinking, what will I talk about now? When an inspiration. Open the notebook, Tom. Open it at random. There's always something there that you can talk about. This is the little notebook. And I opened it at random. And what did I see? Top of the page, number 1, Marianne Williamson. Now I know that Marianne Williamson is a very good speaker, a teacher, you could say a spiritual teacher. So I thought to myself, yes, I'll read the notes. Let's see what Marianne has got to say. It'll bound to be something profound and useful. And sure enough, these are the first words. I desire to deeply collaborate with the I desire to deeply collaborate with the higher realms and intentions of God's plan. Wow. Wow. So how does she know what God's plan is? Obviously, she will get closer to God. That is the God within herself, because we all have a God within ourselves, which you might call our higher self, or our Atman, or our Christ consciousness, or our Buddha mind. We all have that. So what Marianne is saying is she's going to get closer to that so that she can get guidance as to how to run her life effectively and thereby help other people and herself to be happier. Next sentence. What we think makes all the difference. Well, we know that. It's how we interpret what life is presenting us with, which gives us our happiness or our unhappiness, our feelings. Most important, our feelings. Because whether we realise it or not, to a great extent, we run our life from our feelings. We do what we feel is right. If we're not doing what we feel is right, and we regret it a little bit later, then it's coming from something else. It's coming from reactions of the ego, the reactions of an imagined self which perhaps is being insulted or not getting what it wants. Now the ego, this imagined self that we all have, this self-image, is never satisfied, never for long. It could win $1 million, jump up and down with glee and feel really good for about half a day. Then the thoughts would come, oh, somebody else is going to want this. Somebody might steal it from me. Did I really get it? And before you know it, unhappiness. So what I'm saying here is the ego is never happy or satisfied for long. It keeps pushing you for more and more and more. And when you're being pushed for more and more and more, some people could call it ambition, but it's not a particularly helpful, happy life. Anyway, that's my interpretation. Let's get back to Marianne Williamson. We all want a sense of meaning in our lives. We all want a sense of meaning in our lives. We certainly do. We all feel that we need a purpose. If there is no purpose in our lives, no feeling that we're here to do something in particular, rather than to just look after ourselves, enjoy nothing else but our own enjoyment, after a while that wears pretty thin. We need a purpose bigger than ourselves. That's pretty obvious. Something which involves other people, something bigger than just us. Although we want to be in whatever that involvement is. And often we like to be a significant part of it. We like to lead significant lives. A little bit more from Marianne. There is infinite potential in adults as well. Now there's a good one. The inference being here that we might think that potential only lies in the young, in childhood, adolescence and early adulthood. Not so. We now know that the mind or the brain is malleable, that more can be added to it. I can't think of the actual term at the moment, but it means that we can grow new neurons, we can keep improving ourselves right up into our old age. And I believe that's true. I'm turning 86 in April, and I still think I'm learning new things, even if it's only how to put together a talk like this a little bit more effectively as the words spring up. So I'm a true believer in that we're never too old to learn. A little bit more from Marilyn, or Marianne. We must turn love into a social and political force. We must turn love into a social and political force. Well, that is certainly the case. We now know, right at this very moment, there is a war raging. And it seems to me that humanity, all of us, are very slow learners. We know that wars don't achieve much, probably nothing really. They do far more injury than they do help. You could say, oh yes, but they move inventions along, Tom, all that sort of stuff. Yes, maybe they speed those things up a bit. But wars are terrible. We know that. Everybody knows it. Yet we still persist with them. Why? Because they come from our ego. That dissatisfaction, that always wanting more. That's where wars come from. Fear of not having enough. Okay, bit more. Marianne says, everything we do is infused with the consciousness of which we do it. Of course, the more earnest we are, the more loving, the more compassionate. Whatever we do it from a certain level of consciousness. And the closer that level of consciousness can get to the unconditional love that we all have within us, and further away from this ego self and fear of not having the needs, etc., then the happier we are as a person and as a species. And the final sentence she's written here, or I've taken notes, ideas grow stronger when they are shared. Ideas grow stronger when they are shared. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm trying to present Marianne Williamson's ideas from the notes I've taken so that they will be shared, so that these ideas will be shared with all of you. To think on, dwell on, perhaps play back, and interpret into your life or reject as you think fit.